I had lived in this neighborhood for over 30 years, raised my children here, watched my grandchildren play in the same backyard, and maintained my home with pride and respect for the community. We had barbecues on Memorial Day and hung lights on the 4th of July, and every morning since I retired, I sat on my front porch with a coffee in one hand and my dog, Buddy, resting at my feet. I'm a Navy veteran and proud of it, and if there's one thing that's always flown over my home, it's the American flag. 2 months ago, I replaced my old, worn-out flag with a larger one. The stars gleamed bright, the stripes were bold, and it caught the wind with a mighty wave. It wasn't just a flag, it was a symbol of everything I stood for and everything I'd fought to protect in my time of service. I didn't think much of it until one morning I opened my mailbox and found a notice from the HOA stating my flag was too large and not within their approved size regulations. I stood on my porch, rereading that letter, trying to process it. The HOA had never complained before about anything. I had been here longer than most of the current board members had even lived in the area. They claimed the flagpole height exceeded the limit by 6 inches and that the flag itself was visually disruptive to the uniform appearance of the neighborhood. Buddy looked up at me like he could feel my heart pounding. I wasn't angry yet, but I was disappointed. This was the same neighborhood that held a Veterans Day potluck last year where I was asked to speak about my service. The same neighbors who sent me thank you notes when I had to get knee surgery from an old service injury. The same street where kids saluted the flag when they passed by on bikes. Now they said it was a problem. I decided to attend the next HOA meeting. I walked into the room with my shoulders straight, my old Navy jacket zipped up and the flag folded in my hand. I waited quietly as other agenda items were discussed. Then the topic came up. A young board member, no older than 30, maybe, stood up with a printed photo of my house and began explaining the size violation. Calmly, like he was discussing a lawn that needed mowing, I raised my hand, and when they let me speak, I walked to the front and unfolded the flag slowly with care. "This is not just a piece of fabric," I said to them. "This is the flag I fought under in the Gulf, the same stars and stripes I saw through the smoke and fire. This is what I wore over my chest and saluted every morning for 20 years. There was a silence in the room. No one said a word. I continued, "I understand rules. I lived by them in the Navy, stricter than any HOA regulation, but when those rules start to ignore what this country stands for, when they try to silence patriotism under the guise of uniformity, then we have a problem." The head of the HOA, a woman named Brenda, cleared her throat and reminded me that this wasn't about disrespecting my service, but about maintaining the community's aesthetics. I looked right at her and said, "Brenda, I appreciate your position, but you forget who you're talking to. I'm not just some guy trying to make a statement with a flag. I'm someone who bled for that flag, who buried friends under that flag, who stood at attention while taps played and flags were folded into triangles and handed to widows." One of the younger residents sitting in the back stood up and said, "Sir, I had no idea you were a veteran. My grandfather was a Marine. Thank you for your service." And slowly others began to nod. One by one they spoke up. A mother said her son had joined the army because of men like me. A teenager said she thought the flag looked beautiful in the morning light. A father of 3 said the sight of the flag reminded him of why he worked so hard to give his kids a future. Here Brenda looked around, clearly realizing the tide had shifted. She hesitated, then said, "We'll take this under review." I nodded respectfully and left the room holding my head high. That night, I didn't sleep much. I kept looking out the window at the flag, its red and white stripes catching the moonlight, and I thought of all the people I had served with, and how proud they'd be that I stood my ground. A week later, I got another letter from the HOA. This time it wasn't a violation notice. It was an apology. They had voted unanimously to make an exception for veteran homes and even proposed a motion to raise the height allowance. 4 flags throughout the neighborhood, citing historical and patriotic value. I smiled as I read it, and then looked down at Buddy, who wagged his tail like he knew we had won. The next day, neighbors came by to shake my hand. Kids dropped off little hand-drawn flags, and one even gave me a crayon drawing of me standing next to my flagpole. I taped it on my fridge like it was a priceless painting and called my daughter to tell her what happened. She cried. She said, "Dad, you did something bigger than just defend your flag. You reminded people what it means." It wasn't about winning against the HOA or proving a point. It was about standing up for what was right and showing people that freedom isn't just a word, it's lived and earned and remembered. And that flag outside my home now flutters, not just as a symbol of my service, but as a reminder to everyone on this street that some things are too important to fold away.